Today, I have Felipe Oliveira with me again, and we are going to do some more. Well, Felipe is going to do some more health horaries, medical horary demonstrations on common questions that people ask about so that you can see how practically useful it is. Though I want to emphasize that we're not doing medicine here, we're doing astrology. Just want you to remember that. First, I should say, hi, Felipe.
Hello, Karen.
It's
Thanks for
great to
having
have you
me.
here again. It's so fun.
My pleasure.
Okay, so now you have some charts for us today.
I do, yes. Can you see the chart?
Yes.
So this chart, I'm going to give a diagnosis of the elements and then a prognosis of what's going to happen to this person, and then answer his main concern or the question that he has. He went to the bank one day, one afternoon, and it was kind of the weather was okay, but it was overcast. And on the way to the bank, a storm came on and it just poured over him. And he didn't have an umbrella, or he was totally unprepared walking to the bank. So he got soaked. Then he went back home. And a few hours later, or the next morning, I think, I don't remember exactly, but sometime after this episode of being soaked by cold rain, he began to cough and feel sick in his lungs. So he was concerned, well, did I just get a cold and tomorrow I'm going to be all right? You know, it's just going to go away. It's just like a passing thing. Or did this make me sick and it's going to go run the full course of a week and, the 10 days that usually it takes for this type of a cold or flu to develop? Because if he's going to get really sick, you take different measures. You go to the pharmacy and you buy vitamin C or whatever things you usually do to take care of a longer term cold. And if he's going to be okay, he doesn't need to worry, and tomorrow he's going to be fine, or in a couple of days. So we need to see that in the chart. The first thing I'm going to do is confirm his condition, right? He is the moon, because he's the querent, right? And the moon is here. The moon is in the sign of Mars, and Mars happens to be the ruler of house 6. So this shows that he got sick. But how sick? Is it really bad? That's what we're trying to determine. Did he get a lot, sick a lot, or just a little? And the first thing we can see, it's not necessary in this case because it wasn't his question. But the chart shows Mars is in a cold and dry sign. Okay. So he caught a cold.
But first, tell us why you're looking at Mars.
Yes, because Mars is the moon's dispositor, right? The moon is in the sign ruled by Mars, Scorpio. So the planet that is the dispositor of the moon, that's his body, describes his condition. All right. So this person has too much coldness in his body, right? So the chart is describing that. And Mars is in a cold sign. So he has a cold, which is, he knows that already. But now we need to determine if he is going to get sicker or if he's going to get better, because that's what he wants to know. Is this going away or is it here to stay? And to do that, we look at the moon to see what's going to happen next to the moon. Here, what we have is the moon is in the sign of house 6, which is the house of illness. Right. And the moon is at 23 degrees, and the cusp of the 6th house is at 29 degrees. So there's more than 6 degrees difference here. Okay. So the moon is actually in house 5. But what's going to happen next with the moon? The moon is going to go this way, right?
Yeah.
And when it goes this way, where does it go? It comes out of house 5 and goes into house 6. Basically, what it's telling is that you're going to get sicker, right? You're going to go into house 6. So you're going to go into illness. You didn't leave it behind, which is what he thought. Maybe it's just a passing thing. So no, it's not a passing thing. You're going to go into house 6, and then you're going to go through the whole house 6 thing, which is to be sick. And that's what happened. He became sick it took 7 days for the cough to develop completely and then begin to get better and recover. It took him 2 weeks to recover. So he did indeed get sick.
So would you take into consideration the fact that the moon is also in a fixed sign as part of that?
The moon, not necessarily, because usually in order to determine the type of imbalance that you have, like fixed or mutable or cardinal, you look at the dispositor to determine that. But since this is not a question about diagnosis, then we don't need to bring that in. But in this case, being fixed, just theoretically, it would be descriptive of what happened to him. It's not something that's going away. It's something that's here to stay. So it is a fixed situation. And there are a few more details in this chart that are very interesting. The chart describes the situation. So horary always gives you a snapshot of the context of the situation you're asking about. If it's a relationship, it will show you everything about the other person. If it's a trip, it's going to show everything about the trip you're considering. If it's about a job, the same thing. Here, it's showing everything that's related to his health condition in this moment. So he was coughing and he caught a cold. That's what part of the body gets sick in a case like that. It's usually lungs. It's the lungs, right? And if we look at the anatomy, the chart also shows the anatomy. His entire body is wrapped around the chart, and the lungs is signified by house 4. So Mercury is the significator of his lungs. And what we see here, remember that we saw that Mars was the cause of his problem. So we have Mars, the cause of his problems, is right on the cusp of his lungs.
Exact.
Right? So the chart is showing sick lungs. That's the translation of this symbol here. Right. Is that his lung is sick, right? His lungs.
And there's a mutual reception between Mars and Mercury. So that kind of like confirms it, right?
Exactly. Yes. So it shows that he got sick because of the lungs and vice versa. So they're supporting one another. So his lungs are, you see, Mercury is retrograde here. So you see that it's not working well. So he already had some weakness going on. He wasn't in good enough health to expose to himself to a storm. If he was in a stronger position, he would not get sick. Somebody else would not get sick. But he was not strong. Like the moon in Scorpio is in its fall. So it shows that his health is already weakened. His lungs are retrograde, so it's also weak. His immune system is part of the situation, right? So his immune system is signified by Saturn. It's also retrograde. So you see, he had an overall weakness in his overall health, his lungs, and his immune system. So when he got too cold, he got sick. He couldn't help. And there is another interesting thing in this chart. It's details that usually for the astrologer is very entertaining or enlightening. Right. Is that the reason he got cold is because he went out to run an errand and he got soaked, right? Right. And what was the last aspect that the moon made?
It was a trine to the sun, I believe.
Yes, a trine to the sun, exactly.
They're both in water signs.
So that's what made him sick. What is the
rain?
Sun? The sun is the ruler of house 3. He went out to run an errand to go to the bank, right? So he was doing a routine thing. So here the chart shows he went to the bank, got soaked, right? Right. And then got cold. So that's what it's saying. And then to top off the description, if you look at the Mercury's anticium, which is important, is the anticium, for those who do not know, is the second placement of of a planet in a chart. Every planet is in two places. Mercury's antecedent is right here in opposition to the sun.
Oh, wow.
So the chart shows all the factors
Everything
that created his problem, right?
It's so amazing.
It's not just his immune system and so on. It shows that because his immune system and his lungs were weak, he went out, got drenched because he went to the bank without an umbrella and got sick. So the chart
Wow.
shows everything basically. It's not you cannot blame it on a virus or a
Right.
bacteria. The problem was that you went out without an umbrella. That's the problem.
I love how literal it can be. Horror can be
Yes.
so literal.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
pretty
funny
amazing.
sometimes. So
So
that was excellent.
Yeah, this shows the level of details that horror can give you about a situation.
So we're going to wrap this up now. I just want to tell people they can get a consultation with you. You can get his webinars, and he's got courses. And I'll have all of that information linked down below. And you can also tell us right now as well if you want to, like, what is your website address for people to get medical horaries from you?
Yes, for consultations, it's medicalastrologer.net. And for my teachings and courses and webinars, it's traditionalmedicalastrology.org. And and there are articles, and if you're interested in learning about medical astrology and psychological astrology, there's a lot of material there. And if you have any questions, you can always email me or contact me through the websites.
So
definitely.
This is Karen White of Divine Time Astrology. Until next time, thank you for watching.